thanks again for being here, and thank you guys for being here, and
Thank all of you for
making the film.
for being here.
Well, I just have one or two quick questions. I'll turn to the audience. As Chris mentioned, this has been a long process. It has roots here, and to bring it a little closer to home, we were here pretty much in the exact same spot. I don't know if you were here actually, but
I was at a different screen.
you were at a different screening at 2010 to show St. Nick, and then a couple years later we were standing right up there to show Pioneer, Knife, and a bunch of other stuff. And now look, here we are again. But fill in, if you guys can, to a certain extent, the moments in between, and from the beginning to this, and some of the highlights of that journey, I guess, when you guys met to right now.
That's a long
That's a
story.
lot.
We met in 2000 and started making movies that no one will ever see. And then at a certain point, people started to see them. And yeah, we hit that point where we showed them St. Nick here after it premiered at South by, and then Pioneer, and James has his short films that we've also shown here. I guess the high points were the first time festivals started showing our work and realizing people liked what we were doing was great, and getting the response and the sort of, you know, support of not the film industry, but just it was just okay. Not the film industry, but the you know, film festival world. The audience is there, and the programmers and the critics, and then, you know, turning that into sort of a wellspring of support for making our first feature, and then taking that feature and using that as a platform for this one, and along with some other short films, and, you know, realizing that, you know, that we could just make a movie that could be, you know, slightly bigger than everything we'd done before, but still sort of like stick to our guns and do it our way. That was like a really great realization, realizing like that we didn't have to play by any sort of rule book or try to, you know, placate the, you know, powers that be. We were just able to just make a movie on our own terms for the most part.
Yep. When did you know, was there a point when you realized, because I know this film, this script went through a long evolution from, you know, originally conceiving it as the same way you conceived a lot of your other films, and, you know, make it with a bunch of friends and how you can get it together, and then obviously it turned out to be something different. Was there a moment when you guys sort of realized that, wait, this is going to be the movie that, you know, we all maybe, you know, envisioned making at some point in our careers?
Well, the first stirrings of that were when we got into the Sundance labs. Toby, our other partner who's not here tonight, him and I were in the producing labs, and we were, you know, all the advisors there were all coming up to us and, you know, sort of pulling us aside and saying, listen, I think that you guys have like something really special here, and you should really try to push, you know, to try to get some name actors and some more money. And that was like the first stirrings of the idea of like it could be something bigger than St. Nick, you know, because we still fully planned on just making, you know, maybe not as small as St. Nick, but still a tinier version of this film. And that was like just getting into the labs at all, and then all these people who had made dozens of films of their own taking us aside and telling us that really started the vision of maybe something grander. So that's, you know, that's on the, you know, actually the production side. I'll let David speak to the creative side.
I mean, I think that it was remarkable how much it just stayed the same. The movie, like, you know, if we had made this movie for $75,000, we would not have been able to shoot on 35mm, and it wouldn't have starred the actors who we have in it. But I think it would still be the same movie, more or less. Like, and that is something that's important to me. You know, like that you're able to stick to your guns of what you want to do as a filmmaker, regardless of what the budget is or who's in it or anything like that. I think there are things I would have done differently if it was cheap. You know, if we didn't have as much money, because you just aren't able to rent your period cars or things like that. But for the most part, I think it would have felt like the same movie, and that's something that is important to me. And it was a great realization. It was realizing that we could just make the movie we wanted to make, in spite of the fact that it was slightly, it was not even slight for us. It was huge compared to our first movie, and it was remarkable to realize that people actually trusted us to spend a much larger amount of money, small in Hollywood terms, but bigger on something like this.